Hi everyone, so this is my reflection for topic 4 for standardized testing. And just to reiterate, we learned about two major types of standardized testing, and that's norm reference and that's also criterion based. And so norm reference is basically the performance of a child compared against other peers, while criterion based is basically how that one child performs against an objective or standard. Basically, the first one is where you're comparing them against their peers, and the second one is where you're just comparing how well they did in terms of what they learned, right? So the first step is the connect step, and that's where I made the connection with standardized testing. When I really got into the field of education, I learned more about, standardized testing and what issues people are having with it. And that's when I really learned that actually a lot of teachers do not agree with the types of standardized testing that students are getting because they feel like they're either, teaching to a test or forcing the students to learn things that naturally should be taught maybe in a different sequence or should be taught later on in life. But basically, because the standardized testing is so important for their future, they feel like this is something they just have to know. And so reading these passages in the textbook reminds me of what I was learning about standardized testing. And so something that it connected back to me is a website that I had found before that actually has reports from the years 1995 to 1997 for actual standardized testing that was done in grades 4 and 8 in Florida. And so that website I will share with you guys. I'll just post it on the actual link, but just for you guys to see here, it's www.fldoe.org/accountability/K-12-student-assessment/archive/norm-reference-test.html, right? And so you can actually see those reports, and it actually shows you how those students scored based on their peers and how well they did. And it brings up a question when it comes to norm reference testing, which is what is normal performance? You see, because that's what you're testing when you're putting them against their peers. You're kind of seeing, well, what is normal, what they should be achieving, and based on everyone around them, what are they not achieving, And so the second part is extend, and this is really what sat with me for criterion reference testing because it gave me a new outlook on that kind of testing. I kind of saw the other teachers' perspectives and their opinions when they felt like, they don't like standardized testing as well, they don't like feeling they have to teach to a test, or they don't like having to, basically forcefully teach the child these things. It's not the child getting the experience or the chance to want to learn. You kind of have to teach these things in a time-specific order because, the testing comes around maybe, March, April, sometimes before that. Sometimes you're taking a standardized test that you're doing at multiple times throughout the year, so you don't really get the chance to let them learn as well as they want to learn, or at least at the pace that they may want to learn, and so what extended my thinking is that I actually saw the other side, and I can see where students would benefit from being tests when it comes to criterion-based tests, because, it does gauge a student's knowledge on the subject. So I found a middleman, and I felt like, it's pushed me to a better opinion in a new direction of criterion-based, because I feel like I may not particularly like that kind of standardized testing, but if we can implement it in a way that's a lot easier on our students, or a curriculum that's a little bit more, a well-paced curriculum for students to follow, so that way we're not stressing them out on a topic and then going on to another topic, and rushing all these topics so they reach it by, test time. So it extended my thinking into thinking more about, well, yes, we have to do criterion-based testing. How can we do that in a way that may be a little bit easier on our students? So the challenge, which is the third part, something that was puzzling to me is, when we get all these results, whether through norm reference testing or criterion, how do we implement these, not only as educators with our administrators, as a community, how will we implement these new results into an efficient curriculum? Whether we have to do a new curriculum or modify it, what's puzzling to me or a little confusing is, what is the best way for us to take what we're getting as results and using that to make sure that we are doing the right thing and helping our students. Because the last thing you want to do is take their results, see that there's things that need to be changed or modified, and then you accidentally make things a little more complicated, or it's a system that isn't well implemented or thought out, and then you have students that are confused, falling behind, and this is their education. This is something that's super serious. And right now we're focusing on kindergarten through third grade, and this is when they're extremely impressionable. So I feel like we just have to have a solid plan as to when we get those results, how they're scoring against their peers and how they're scoring against standards or objectives. How can we take that properly, implement it into our new curriculum? Okay, so that is my reflection. These are my points that I have made. I will share the website on the link so you all can check it out as well. So have a great day. Thanks for listening.